Okay, thank you for joining this little training session. I'm Doug Gray, and my desire is to tell stories, use assessments, the DISC and the PAV, to help teams like yours develop. So if we were in the same room together doing any synchronous training program, I would typically have some objectives like this. I'd have the data, the team's strengths from the assessments, and I'd give them to you. And I'd tell you that the purpose of this is to match your behavioral styles when communicating with others. Why? Because that's what effective leaders do. So let's start with this theoretical assumption. My premise, my underlying construct is this belief. For instance, this content was developed at a nuclear power plant. And you've heard the saying before that a picture is worth 1,000 words, but a story is worth 1,000 pictures. So if a president were to underwrite a $10 billion promise to a CEO who's standing on the left for new jobs represented by the fellow who's standing on the right, what would that mean for a business or for your industry? True story, I spent 3.5 years there. Stories are one of the most effective ways to communicate. And there's always a gap between the current vision, our current reality and our future reality. So, think about the ways that we take data, such as I hear a dog barking, I see a dog barking and chasing someone, so I experience a dog barking and chasing me. Well, what does that mean? And our motivators are the 6 ways in which we can describe what we value. All of us have all of these, but all of us have one of these at a deeper level or a more important level than the others. Nothing right or wrong. They're ways to describe why do we do what we do. So if I took a group of 15 or so people at that nuclear power plant and asked, why do you do what we do, we'd see a pretty good distribution of their primary and secondary values. Not bad. The second thing I often look at is, how do we prefer to behave? And there's a tool commonly used called DISC, D-I-S-C, that looks at our natural and our adapted behavior styles. And each of us is each of these. But some are more high D-like, high I-like, high S-like, or high C-like at different times. So how do you know which is yours? Well, you don't need this assessment. You can answer these 2 questions. These go back to the 1950s when a guy named Marston was looking at how do you make decisions. Slowly, you're on the left, a C or an S. Quickly, you're on the right, a D or an I. And I suspect the analytical people are going to say, well, I'm somewhere in the middle and you're right. And that's just fine. Question number 2. How do you solve problems? D's and C's? Alone. S's and I's? With others. Nothing right or wrong. D's are going to jump in head first. They're direct. They're drivers. Their focus is this. Their slogan is, let's get her done. At a nuclear power plant, it's not always smart to have people dropping their hard hats and jumping head first. Think of the fact that sometimes we do need somebody to be controlling and direct. Some of these assessments use animals to help you recall, or people who are fairly famous to help you recall. You are D-like. I am D-like. Nothing wrong with being D-like. We're not only that. We're also I-like. In other words, we touch, reach out and touch, and that slogan is described here. People are important to us. So how do we influence others? Well, we're supportive. Animals include the otter and the peacock and some of these famous. We're also S's, or steady. Don't rock the boat. Keep it going. You see the bullets here. Safety people, thankfully, provide a degree of this compliance check. Think about the relators in your world, the steady folks who are kind of like a golden retriever dog, and they support us and keep us going. Nothing right or wrong. Thankfully, there's conscientious folks as well who make sure we check the correct box. Their focus on detail is critical, controlling, and they're indirect. A beaver, an owl, some of these characters. Okay, so where am I going? Let's imagine that you took that work team and plotted them, not as we did before, on their values, but in this way, on their natural and adapted behaviors. D like, I like, S like, and C like. And if you can look really closely, you'll see two initials for someone's natural and then their adapted behavior. You could plot this for your team. I deleted their last names, but here's maybe a representative team. A lot of I's, a lot of S's, only one C. So what does this mean? Well, when people go shopping, the high D's are impulse people. They don't have a list. The high I's, they need some company. They tell you where everything's going. The high S's, well, they're certainly prepared and they use a list. They never miss it. And the high C's, they need coupons. They need a calculator. Make sense? One more goofy example. When preparing a meal, the high D's use a microwave oven, even for water. And the high I's have gadgets. The high S's require everybody else to be there. And the C's definitely are going to serve things on time. Make sense? So the key to both of these assessments is to think about how you match your behavior with others. What are the emotions you might use? What are the words? What are the actions? And how do you connect? How do you attract others to or influence others to do whatever it is you'd like for them to do? That's a measure of our impact as leaders. So there's lots of tools to give folks in programs, but the key is this. Good stories create an experience with an emotional response. Stories let your gut talk to somebody else's gut. So if I were to ask you to pair up and match your behavior and tell your story, pick one of these prompts. What's a personal or professional success? Tell that story in some emotionally evocative way and see what happens. My hope is that you'll match your behavior to the listener and it'll be impactful. That's what great leaders do. We connect, and it's the stuff under the water that's critical. What I encourage you to do is take some action from these slides. Action leads to learning. We want you to share this content broadly. There's plenty of information digitally and at the summits that we provide. Like any other think tank, any other consultancy, the summits are designed for business leaders, and they're a tremendous excuse to visit in Nashville. So let me end with a little story from, just to anchor this thing, from a senior VP at a large healthcare company who said, I said to this person, you have no reason to know this, but over the last 10 years, we've gathered data on 4 of your largest hospitals. Would you like to see data? Well, naturally, he said, yes. And we discussed what appeared to be happening at his hospitals. I looked at trend data and such, and he said, I bet you'd like to expand your services to more of these hospitals, right? And I said, yes, as a matter of fact, I would. And he said, and I bet that you can provide a good deal if we expand your services to more of our hospitals, right? And I looked him straight in the eye and I said, absolutely right. When would you like to get started? Action leads to learning. Notice in that example, he led the conversation, high D, high I behavior, and I said, yes, yes, yes. In a similar way, I invite you to take some next steps today. Thank you, and all the best to you and your team. My name's Doug Gray. Don't be scared. Reach out.